All right, now we need to do our structure of the cities module. And as you're jotting down some key points here about the three models I'm about to share with you, it's important to understand that cities have kind of developed these different zones, and those zones tend to be a wealthy neighborhood versus a poor neighborhood, a factory neighborhood, or it's not even neighborhood if it's a factory, like a factory zone versus like a railroad and transportation hub. And then there's other places that are more like the downtown central business district. So these zones of a city don't always follow the same pattern. There are certain cities in the United States that are more concentric, some are more sector, and some are more multiple nuclei. And we're definitely going to come back to that when we come back together as a full class. But on the screen share, you can see an example of a city here. This is a largely unplanned city. This is the city of Paris, and you can see the avenues weaving in and out, and the buildings don't have that traditional square structure that you think of with a modern city. So what we think of when we think of our major cities across the world is either concentric or sector, but some of the newer modern cities are developing into a multiple nuclei. Let's start concentric. What I want you to write down or identify about a concentric is it's a series of rings. And how a city like this will work is you've got this downtown core area that is surrounded by a zone of transition, okay? So the downtown, think of downtown Minneapolis. It's beautiful buildings, fancy retail shops, luxury apartments, entertainment centers. It's where you want to go on a weekend, right? It's the center of entertainment. Then just outside of it, you're going to have some factories and warehouses where the business stuff gets done. And outside of that, you tend to find more of the lower income housing because they are in close proximity to the factories. A lot of the people with more wealth are going to try and settle in further out areas and get away from the city. The rings of activities around the central business district just keep getting more and more focused on width than focused on direction. So that's how I remember this one. It's rings that grow wider and wider as you go. So it's all surrounding an area. They're all surrounding this area. And the outer one is like an outer suburban area. The second one, this is different. This is a sector model. So in a sector model, you still have a downtown region, but now certain directions, east or west or north, are going to grow with their activities all the way to the outskirts of town. It will extend from downtown area all the way out to where the cornfields start. And these wedges that you see little slices or wedges, are zoned by what type of business or what type of residence you'll find there. So the light pinks that you see, those are more intermediate rent housing, so not super fancy homes, but not poorer homes or communities. The orange you see is more of an industrial region. And notice it's not just the industry stuck by downtown, the industry extends into a whole east side of the city is all industrial. And that expansion goes usually following some kind of like highway system or some kind of river or mountain range. It'll track along those. So physical features have a big impact on it, but it is definitely different from the rings we saw on the previous one. And the last one would be multiple nuclei. So more modern cities that we see across the world are developing into multiple centers of business happening. It's not all just the downtown area that becomes the big center for entertainment and wealth and trade. It becomes pockets or clusters on the west side, the east side, the south side. You see the scattering effect across the city, and then neighborhoods will pop up and develop in proximity to those hubs, those centers, those clusters. So you can see the orange one's a cluster down here. The blue one's a cluster down here. The yellow, of course, is our main core center, but that doesn't always mean that the downtown core CBD, Central Business District, is really as important as some of these other ones that are on the outskirts of town. So we'll talk about how Los Angeles fits this model because it's more of a newer city, but I like how it says activities like heavy industry and high income will avoid clustering together. So we'll start to see the pockets or neighborhoods that are seen more wealthy, and the pockets or neighborhoods that are seen as more low income. As you are diving into the example now, you're going to want to switch videos, go over and see the example, and see how you're going to design one of these three models for yourself.